Sean, talk to us about how things came to an end on Live PD,
Sure.
and what's the hope of the future at all for a reboot. Obviously, you've got a massive fan base of people that are like begging for the show to come back. So how did it end, and where was your connection, and in what did you know when, and how did it all go down, and where's it
Sure.
going?
So Live PD it did turn into the number one cable television show every Friday and Saturday night. Some nights it was the number one television show out of even network TV. It was bringing in 2.1 million viewers an episode, so it was a huge hit. That's 3 hours live every Friday and Saturday, and every March. Let me back up. The show went on year round. We took off for Christmas. We didn't even take off for Thanksgiving anymore. We took, like Fourth of July weekend off and things like that. But every year in March, we took 2 weekends off, and it was because March Madness was on TV. Everybody's going to watch March Madness. You don't want to compete with those type of ratings. It gave an opportunity for all the crews that are out on the road to have some time off and get back home to their families. So coincidentally, the pandemic was starting up at the exact same time, which had nothing to do with the show getting off. But I was in New York doing the show. I was there for a week straight because we had also filmed PD Cam from the same studio, and then we had live PD on the weekend. Literally watched the city of New York just start emptying out during that week I was there. Fly
Yeah.
home. We have our 2 weeks off, and then because of the pandemic, we're not going back to studio. We do it remotely from home, which was an experience in itself. And they were kind of, we didn't know if we were ever going to get back to New York just because of the pandemic going on. And then George Floyd happened. And the incident with George Floyd, they had discussed how we were going to acknowledge it. Because one of the things we did on the show, we just covered live police work. It was like, hey, here's policing in America. You can sit at home on your couch and judge it for what it is. And we're going to show you small rural areas. We're going to show you big, urban areas, the difference of what goes on. And there was discussion of, hey, obviously this is a nationwide thing. Are we going to even make a comment on it? Because we didn't comment on anything else, and that involved, other incidents that had happened. We didn't comment about police officers that were shot and killed in the line of duty. We were just trying to say, hey, here's the police profession. So far as we knew, everything was a go. We were going to go back on Friday night for the show. And then Thursday night, we get a conference call from our producer. And not to say that was out of the ordinary. You always had a pre-production meeting before every show anyways. And since we were doing things from home, we were doing, these type of deals from the phone. And we get on the phone call. And when it was myself, Dan Abrams, and Tom Morris, along with the producer, and he literally just in a very quiet voice just said, it's done. And so we thought, we had discussions that maybe the show was not going to come, like they're going to take some time off of it till maybe after like 4th of July, a few weeks, let things kind of simmer down, and then we'll put the show back on. And that we were like, what? And they said, yeah, it's done. And it was a decision, nobody to do with Live PD, way up the food chain.
Mm-hmm.
Just like everything else that kind of got canceled, or, that people went after that had to do with law enforcement.
Don't you
And
think
it was
that's
it.
don't you think that's wild? Or like, were you disappointed in your network for example, like I was down trying to sell my rum. I'm always trying to hustle my rum and out
Sure.
of town like I am today. And I went into a bar and was doing my sales pitch. And the rep I was with was like, not only does he own and make this rum, but he was also a former law enforcement officer. And the guy goes, oh, well, let's just leave that part out.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
I was like, excuse me, sir? And he was like, let's leave
Yep.
that part out. That's a touchy subject. I said, no, it's not. It's a noble
No, it's
profession.
not.
I said, matter of fact, you know what? I don't even think my rum would do well in this shop anyway. So I think we're done here. And the rep was like, dude, whoa, holy shit. Like struck a nerve. And I said, yeah, because for me, that's zero tolerance. Did you feel the same way when the network was like, we're
Yeah,
not coming
100%. Yeah, and there were a lot of people. Obviously, social media was a big part of the show. At least Twitter was, and I was kind of new to the social media game. I kind of got involved with it because of the show. I'm kind of private in a lot of things in my personal life, like I hope most cops are, but we had contracts with the network. We actually had a contract, each of us as individuals. We had one that didn't end until February, the final year. And part of your contract is kind of like, what you're allowed to say publicly, what you can talk about.
Right.
And so we couldn't comment publicly about it. Everybody in my interpersonal circle obviously knew how I felt about it. Once our contract had ended and found out basically there was no hopes of the show coming back, part of that show or that family of everybody that worked on it, I'm talking from the production assistants that are getting people coffee to the executive producer to the director to management for the network. Everybody knew each other, and I think, from my understanding, that's pretty unique in the television world. Obviously, it's my only experience I've ever had with it, but it got once the contract expired, I was able to have phone calls and expressed my displeasure. Very personal, and that's what I expressed is, listen, I know there's a lot of people that are out of job, just, part of this show. I said, but of the three of us that are up on camera, between Dan, Tom, and myself, I'm an active duty gun toting cop still right now. And, it's a slap in the face. And I mean, those were actually my exact words. I said, this is a slap in the face to me, to the profession, to the viewership, and stuff like that. It's extremely disappointing, for something we didn't do wrong. We, as in the law enforcement profession, nobody part of that show did wrong, to see it get yanked off of there. Very disappointing.